Hello and welcome to the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy, such as the deferred sales trust, is the best way for you to exit highly appreciated cryptocurrency, businesses, real estate, so you can defer millions of dollars of tax and create and preserve more wealth. Hey, I'm your host, Brett Swartz. In each episode, I'm joined by some of the best real estate, financial, crypto, and business minds in the world, where they share their ideas, deal stories, and inspiration. So together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. By the way, we're also streaming on expert CRE secrets as well. I'm excited about our next guest. He is out of Southern California. In fact, went to school in San Diego. I was there for a year as well, so we have a little bit of crossover there. And he's been investing in the digital asset space since 2017. And he and the team that he works for strongly believe that the digital assets, and in particular decentralized finance applications, will play a crucial role in the digital economies of the future, and they also seek to invest in and work with the brightest developers and founders who are paving the way for the new and innovative financial products, all things in cryptocurrency, and so much more. Please welcome to the show with me, Nicholas Klaiber. Hey, Nick, how you doing?
Hey, Brett, doing well. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm excited to get to know you a little bit more. And for our listeners who are learning about you for the first time, would you give them a little bit more about your story and your current focus?
Sure. So background education is actually in finance. I spent a number of years in traditional finance working on product team and also as an investment analyst. And most recently, I've taken the leap to work full-time in crypto. And I work for a venture capital firm called Magnus Capital as an investment analyst.
Excellent. And before we get into crypto investing made simple and diving into all things of what's going on currently, and we're going to talk about the market cycle and what you kind of see as some opportunities and maybe some threats that are on the horizon. But before we go there, I want to take one other step back. Nick, I believe we've all been given certain gifts, and I want you to go back to your high school days, maybe early college days. And I think these gifts have been given to us to be a blessing and help to others. Some people call them strengths, some people call them superpowers. But I'm curious, what are those one or two gifts that you believe you were given, and how does that help how you help and bless people today?
Sure. So, I'd say first and foremost that fairly approachable. I consider myself personable and relatable. We run a group as well that's for free and just helping people out, at no cost, just, time allocation on our part. I like to think I'm fairly analytical. I like to, understand the fundamental truth of things at times, and sometimes it also gets me in trouble. So, I'd say probably those two aspects.
Those are great. I love that. So approachable, personal, and relatable, but also mixed with that analytical side of your strength, which I think is are hard to find, right? To have both of those things. So that's really cool, Nick. So let's dive right into the topic. So what's the number one secret to making investing in crypto simple?
Oh boy, jumping right in. I'd say less is more with crypto. I think everybody gets into crypto thinking they're going to make $1 million, and they're trading and joining paid groups. I think probably a tactical, holistic approach to crypto and realizing there's nothing that you really know. Nobody, what you don't know, right? So, jumping right in and just investing sometimes isn't the best avenue. And, really learning about it and taking kind of a test and see approach is probably the best avenue of exploration for crypto for people who are new and trying to jump into the space.
Okay, so I'm trying to pull that out a little bit. I'm thinking of like an analogy of like riding a bike, right? Where
Mhm.
it's like if you jump on and you try to go 100 miles an hour, you're probably going to crash. But are you saying like take it slow, jump in, take a broader perspective and slowly work in? Is that a fair summary?
Absolutely. I mean, everybody says if you want to learn something, get thrown in the deep end. But if you're thrown in the deep end with crypto, you're just going to drown. Start small. I would start, with, downloading the Coinbase app, downloading the Celsius app, and depositing, a little bit of money here, start with $100 and see how it goes. And, observe it over time, invest in, stable coins initially so you can get that, quick 10% return and kind of feel it out because it's a very complex ecosystem. There's just a huge moat and barrier to entry in terms of knowledge to really excel. And oftentimes you don't need that if you're just looking for a passive income.
Excellent. Yep. And by the way, you can learn more about Nick Kabler by checking him out on Twitter. He's got Twitter at twitter.com/Buffett Theory /Buffett Theory, or just go to Twitter in your app and just search Buffett Theory. So, okay. So we're going to keep it simple, take it slow, start to learn, start to do some of the basics. So, next step, what's the number 2 secret to investing and keeping it simple with crypto, or some fundamentals that you're really trying to make sure that folks are looking at?
Sure. Yeah. So, I get asked this question a lot by my close friends and family, like, hey, how can I get involved? The best way I would say is to buy if you're not interested in stable coins and you want some actual directional exposure, stick to the majors, which would be, the top 10, top 20 by market cap. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Avalanche, those are all good quality investments, and just hold. Don't trade, don't sell. This marketplace has proven over time in the long run, your investment is always going to go up. If you look at, if you had bought at the top in 2017, 2018 and bought Bitcoin at 20,000 and held down 90% drawdown, you'd be up 3 times right now if you hadn't sold. So just buy dollar cost average in, buy when it dips, buy when it goes up, and just hold for the long term.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it also helps to create, the muscle to be able to stay in. So what helps you to have conviction in the long run of, because it's one thing to invest, but it's another thing to understand the investments which you're going into. And this is part of what you guys are doing. So talk about just your educational process of how you've come to understand crypto and have conviction to hold on even when it drops drastically.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, crypto has proven to be the most volatile asset class in history. But you can kind of rest easy with, and I'll just talk about the top 2, Bitcoin and Ethereum. First and foremost, Bitcoin has a fixed supply. They're not making any more of it. So, purchasing that, you just know that you have a little piece of a finite supply that you can never be taken away, unlike the Federal Reserve, who's going to, print limitlessly. So, they're not making any more of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's always going to be a store of value, not necessarily like a bar of gold, because it has, transferability, has the, transactional ability. And then, also Ethereum is kind of like the computer layer of crypto, right? With smart contracts. And most recently, it's become a deflationary asset as well. So they're not going to be making much more of Ethereum come, 2022 as well. So holding both those over time, you're almost guaranteed to have a solid return.
What's the one thing, if you could go back to when you first started investing, that you could tell our listeners to say, you know what, I wish I would have practiced that part of investing or education, or could be a mastermind, could be your educational, group that people can join. Like, just kind of walk through that. You don't have to be alone. What's the one thing that maybe you would have changed with your journey?
Yeah. Oh boy, I've got a lot of regrets. So, 2 things come to mind. First and foremost, don't trade. Don't try and think you're smarter than the market. There's market makers out there that are incredibly high, IQ, gigabrain folks that are going to outtrade you, and you'll just lose your money. Second one is build a network of crypto people who are smarter than you and have more knowledgeable about crypto than you. Because that group is going to pay off over time, and they're going to find things, they're going to find alpha that you would have never found on your own. So having that team, having that network, is going to persevere over time.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, right? With anything in life, right? We want to try to find a guide or someone who's just a few steps ahead of us, and it could just be they're 6 months or 2 years ahead of you. Doesn't have to be like the Warren Buffett of cryptocurrency. It could be somebody who's just been in a year or two ahead of you. I'm doing that right now with some previous friends from high school, as well as a couple clients who are in the NFT
Nice.
space, Bitcoin space, technology space, and just absorbing that. And in fact, we've taken another step further. I have 5 kids. And so we started to mine a little bit of Ethereum, and so we got 2 rigs going, and I'm trying to immerse and teach my kids about it. Right, I remember growing up in the '80s with my dad. He had one of the first Apple computers. My mom, and that was really fascinating to be around that and absorbing that and seeing that. And so I'm trying to do the same thing. So any thoughts on mining? Any thoughts? Any other creative ways that folks could invest and get into the crypto space?
Yeah, I mean, mining Ethereum is think of it as like a hobby. Right now it's profitable, and I think it's excellent that you're teaching your kids that. Just the technical aptitude that's required to get a mining rig up and going. That's a skill set that's you're imbuing on them for life, whether it's mining or other technical endeavors. But you know, there's easier ways right now as Ethereum transitions to the proof of stake model. There's actually easier methods to earning a passive income, and like Coinbase or Kraken or other US based exchanges, they have staking available, which is interacting with a proof of stake mechanism rather than a mining rig, which is a proof of work mechanism. And you can earn staking rewards just by holding certain assets. Now, obviously, that's going to open you up to directional exposure in the market. If Bitcoin crashes, then your assets will likely crash as well. If you're an investor like me, you don't really care because you're in it for the next 5 to 10 years. But if you're staking your assets over time, let's say you have $1,000 of Ethereum and you're staking it for the next 5 years, you know, you're going to have an extra 20, 30, 40% boost in token holdings just by staking it. So, it's another passive income tactic.
Excellent. And so, now let's talk a little bit about the company you're with, right? Let's dive into that a little bit more and understanding the services that you guys provide and what is that you're doing. Could you talk a little bit about that? And if someone wants to maybe those services sound really good for them, would you touch on that?
Sure. Yeah. So Magnus Capital got their start, really investing in pre-sale and seed rounds, not necessarily open to little guys, but they found their niche there, and they've recently expanded their portfolio to have more of a liquid side. We separate between illiquid and liquid, and I actually work more on the liquid side, finding investments that most people can currently buy. And they're entirely self-funded. They don't actually have LPs or outside investors, so they're able to be a little more flexible with their capital, whereas other funds are not. So
Excellent. And are these like accredited investors type of opportunities that you guys have a list that's growing, and you guys, so if you guys like kind of like venture capitalists, but in the crypto world, is that a fair summary, or tell us a little more about that?
yeah, exactly. So we're essentially venture capitalists or private equity. However, we don't really take equity stakes. We primarily stick to token stakes. So venture capital is probably the most appropriate name for what we do.
It's very cool, and imagine it's really cutting edge too, right? With the world, and so in connecting both worlds together. Great. Now I want to shift a little bit into capital gains tax, if that's okay, and we'll talk a little bit about some challenges or frustrations you found in the crypto space when it comes to selling or not having suitable 1031 or tax deferral options for crypto sales. So I'm curious, what's been the biggest frustration for you, Nick, and your either friends, family, clients, anyone else in the crypto space when it comes to capital gains tax deferral?
Yeah, because crypto's taxed like property, they run the same hurdles. However, with the amount of transactions that you go through every year and the lack of reporting infrastructure in place, it's kind of cumbersome every year to report 3,000 trades and have to submit those to the IRS, one by one. Yeah, and I'm sure it's the same for the IRS. They don't really want to look at every single transaction, but the reporting infrastructure really isn't in place, and that has to do with really the regulatory backdrop and the misunderstanding of crypto and crypto assets and how they should be regulated. And that's Congress's fault. We're hoping in 2022 we'll get some guidance. But yeah, right now I think crypto is taxed at the highest rate possible for short-term capital gains, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, and if you hold it for a year or more, you can't get the long-term treatment, but still you're looking at 30%, 20%, 25%, depending what state you're in and where you're at, and it could be substantial amount. We do have a way here at Capital Gains Tax Solutions to help people defer capital gains tax on the sale of Bitcoin, Ethereum, or other coins. In fact, we just did one for a client. She worked for Google and she's in her 20s and she bought Bitcoin very low, never sold, and it went from 50,000 to 50 million in value. And then she used the DST, the deferred sales trust, to defer the capital gains tax and to be able to exit some of the position, not all of it, but a big $5 million portion of it. And for her, that unlocked the ability to be done with Google, right? Doesn't have to work the W-2 job. And then second, can go launch a new company with the funds. So all tax deferred. So I'm curious, have you heard of anything like that? Or what are some creative ways that you found people to defer capital gains tax on the sale of Bitcoin or Ethereum or other coins?
Yeah. Yeah, you're completely right. I mean, the difference between the short and long-term capital gains that's applied to crypto is almost negligible at this point. Personally, I've always just paid short-term capital gains because I'm turning over positions a lot, but I have recently heard of strategies for high net worth individuals in crypto, who can take loans out against their Bitcoin or crypto holdings. And actually there's programs now that have self-repaying loans too. So you'll actually earn interest on any crypto that's locked up, and you can take a loan against it. So there's strategies that are slowly evolving in the marketplace that are coming available to, everyday investors.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. And by the way, if you have short-term ones too, the deferred sales trust works for those as well. It just has to be big enough exits. So if it needs to be $1 million net proceeds, $1 million gain is our typical exit, unless it's 2 or more transactions at 500 each. So as long as you have larger amounts or you have a bunch of small coins, like we're doing one right now, she's got about 2 million in value across about 40 coins, but mainly it's like 10 coins.
Hmm.
And so we're using a unique strategy to be able to move all of those to an LLC and then to a DST and then exit. So there's some creative ways. And by the way, if anyone's wondering about any of this, you can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com, capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. We also have a mastermind every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern on the deferred sales trust and cryptocurrency by going to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. That being said, Nick, are you ready for the lightning round?
Let's do it.
All right. Knowing what you know now, if you go back to your 25-year-old self, or maybe your 20-year-old self, because you're probably still pretty young here. I think you said you just graduated college a couple of years ago. What's the one golden nugget you make sure to tell yourself to do?
Just invest and don't sell. Just buy. Just any free cash flow you have, just buy. Assets over time have proven to go up. So
excellent. Are any particular coins that are kind of new and exciting that you would mind sharing at all?
yeah, sure. So I'm heavily invested in the Curve Wars, which you may or may not have heard of, but it's somewhat dramatized. But I'm invested in Curve and Convex. I'm also invested in Frax, and I can provide a list as well. For regular people who are just investing on Coinbase, Solana is always a good one. Avalanche is also a good one. There's some other good ones as well. Spell, I think, was just listed.
Excellent. And what we did mention in the beginning, some threats and some opportunities, and we touched a little bit on the regulatory part here, and I forgot to ask that in the regular round. So forget about the lightning round for a second. What do you see as the biggest opportunity in 2022 for the crypto world, and the biggest threat?
Biggest opportunity is decentralized stablecoins, and also the biggest threat is scrutiny of stablecoins. Congress is trying to figure out how to regulate stable coins and if it should be under the purview of the Treasury, which it likely will be. So there's a big, immense push for decentralized stablecoins that cannot be regulated because there's no central entity controlling it. So it's a huge investment opportunity and also a threat for traditional stablecoins like USDC and US Tether.
Fascinating. And just to clarify too, for folks who are wondering, like, define a stable coin versus maybe
Mm-hmm.
a general coin.
Yeah, when you hear stablecoin, just think dollar. $1 is always going to equal one stablecoin, right? So $1 is one USDC or $1 is one USDT. Yeah, and then decentralized stablecoins are almost the same thing, except they're usually backed by collateral like crypto, like Ethereum, rather than USDC is backed entirely by dollars.
Excellent. And while we're on the topic too, or kind of on this part, NFTs, like that's obviously really big and exploding. Would you define
Mm-hmm.
an NFT real fast, and also what's happening there?
Yeah, an NFT is basically a type of token. on the blockchain, except it's obviously an image, and it's non-transferable. I'm sorry, it's you can't rip it off. It's basically like art, and they're really hot right now. In fact, there's some speculation that NFTs could be larger than crypto itself, and it pays artists in a perpetuity when they sell an NFT because they can attach a 5% royalty on it. So there's a lot of opportunity there for artists to really grasp their contribution to society.
What about businesses or real estate being and attaching NFTs to those? Is there a way to do that, or anyone has explored that?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because I've long pondered that could businesses attach some sort of intellectual property, some goodwill to an NFT and be able to license that out? Maybe, I don't know. Somebody smarter than me is probably going to figure that out eventually. Could Qualcomm or Oracle attach some IP to a token and be able to license that? Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, good thing to explore. So cool. All right, now let's go back into the lightning round. So we had a little break from lightning round, then we're going to finish it out. So, favorite book that you've recommended or gifted the most in the past year?
Oh boy, I don't know. I've got a bunch of them, so take your pick. Um, let's see. That's a good one. You caught me off guard there. The World for Sale is a good one, about rampant corruption in banking. I I got a bunch of them. So
That's a good one. The World for Sale. But I mean, that's one we haven't heard about, and it probably ties right into the crypto world, right? And why crypto is a good alternative to the traditional way of banking, right?
yep, yep.
Awesome. Next
Uh,
question. Go ahead. You had another one you want to mention?
nope, go for it.
Okay. Favorite leadership quote or theme that you strive to live by?
It's not really a leadership quote, just kind of an MO, but treat others the way you want to be treated. Love people, and pay it forward.
Awesome. Love it. Second to last question. What are you most curious about right now?
I'm really curious about what happens in the market going into 2022, post COVID. Is there going to be tapering? What's the impact this is going to have on capital markets, real estate? I'm a real estate investor as well, so we'll see. It's a big question mark with the macro landscape. Lost you.
Sorry about that. We had a little break there. My internet was paused out. I was so very cool. Yeah. So you're curious about just the general markets as well as equity markets as well as stock, real estate markets. How long they're going to be high at these all-time highs? I'm curious about that too, and then how that affects crypto. If crypto goes higher because of those things, just the whole shift in 2022 is going to be really fascinating. Awesome. Last
Agreed.
question, Nick, is this: after all your success, after helping the people you helped, and in the crypto world, in the real estate world, and investing world, how do you stay centered in your values, and how do you stay encouraged to charge forward to reach new heights?
Family, and having hobbies outside of crypto. Crypto unfortunately is a 24/7 market, and it takes its toll. The crypto exhaustion is real. But I have kids as well, and you got to take time and actually step away and be with them because you're needed elsewhere too. Like that's your number one job. But also having personal time to do hobbies. I'm a big avid mountain biker and lift weights, so having hobbies, being in a state of mind that's healthy, and eating well and having a few beers every now and again, blow off some steam.
Absolutely love it. Hey, Nick, I want to thank you for being on the show. I want to encourage you to keep using the gifts you've been given by being able to be approachable, personal, relatable, and as well as being analytical to help people make great decisions, get to the bottom, get to the truth, get to the facts, right? Understand those and take action on them, especially in the cryptocurrency world. For our listeners who want to get in touch with you, would you remind them one last time, what's the best place for them to find you?
You can find me either on LinkedIn or on Twitter. Twitter feed is at Buffett Theory, and then obviously my LinkedIn is just my name, Nicholas Klaiber. My DMs are open.
Awesome. Nick, thanks for being on the show. I also want to thank our listeners for listening to an episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast. As always, we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy. And using a proven tax deferral strategy, such as the deferred sales trust, is the best way for you to defer millions of dollars in capital gains tax on the sale of cryptocurrency or businesses or real estate, all tax deferred, not using a 1031 exchange. So you can create and preserve more wealth. And getting with someone like Nick, connecting with him, starting to improve your education in the cryptocurrency world, maybe doing a little bit of mining with your kids. These are all great ways to grow your wealth. Think outside the box and diversify where your holdings are at. If you want to connect with us on the Deferred Sales Trust, we would love for you to do just that by going to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. We're also on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, but capitalgainstaxsolutions.com is the best way to connect with us if you have a live deal. If you want to download our ebook and or attend our free DST Crypto Mastermind, which happens every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Hey, I want to thank you for watching or listening to this podcast episode. So appreciate everyone out there. Please give it a thumbs up. Please share it with someone that can inspire and help today. And we'll talk to you